which is very unchristian, and it's very much not to the approval of his superior, Father James, or whatever he's called.
Can we find out his name? Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I am joined as well by the Cryptic Cinema.
Hello everyone.
And today we shall be starting a brand new review series titled Cinema Nightmares, where we shall be looking at, first of all, the VelociPastor from 2018.
Yeah, so it's a movie we both watched together. It's a very strange movie to start the series off with, but I guess in this series we're going to be more having like informal chats about movies we've seen rather than in-depth reviews, which you can probably just find on both of our channels. But yeah, it's just sort of like light-hearted series where we can just loosely talk about films that we've both watched. And what a way to start it off with this VelociPastor movie.
So this is what we've subjected ourselves to for the first installment. And so diving straight into the film, we are met with the demise of the main character's parents, which is a really strange scene.
Yeah, I wonder if this scene was intentional or not, because I don't think they'd be able to really create a car explosion if they wanted to with their budget.
Judging by the rest of the film, which obviously we will get into momentarily with bizarre things like dinosaur costumes, this really doesn't seem to have that much of a budget.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like they've splurged any money on any aspect of the film. So the kind of joke that they've kind of inserted a car effect explosion doesn't really feel organic.
Definitely not. And speaking of things that are not really organic, the demise of the parents is then met by the character of Father Stewart trying to comfort the main priest character Doug, who has obviously tragically lost his parents in a VFX car explosion. And instead of comforting him in a sort of moral way, we then have him say, "Parents die, it's what they do."
So your parents died, Doug. It's what parents do. They die on you.
Yeah, I mean, this guy himself looks like John Carpenter, sort of like a bootleg John Carpenter.
While we have Doug as a bootleg Matt Damon.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, he's not very sympathetic, I guess, and it doesn't really make sense that he's following the faith of Christianity as well, because he sort of persuades Doug to go to China on a spiritual journey because God can't see him in China.
I know, that obviously makes absolutely no sense, but then we have the title card China that just obliterates the screen in its yellowness.
Yeah, very strange. Yet another very strange sequence of the film.
It is, and so from here to actually bring the raptorness out of the character of Doug, we have Doug basically finding a young lady that gets shot with like an arrow, and
Yeah.
This scene is just so confusing because the raptor claw that sort of seems to graze his hand, which obviously looks incredibly blunt.
Yeah.
It grazes Doug's hand and seems to infect him with the ability to turn into a raptor.
What I found funny about that scene is right after she's been shot with an arrow, he rushes over and asks if she's okay. Like,
Yes.
clearly fucking not.
Yes, if you're bleeding out and someone asks if you're alright, then you've got serious issues.
But that raptor tooth is, I guess, significant to why he turns into a raptor.
Pretty much, and it seems to just be symbolic of really how absurd this movie becomes.
And there we have the birth of our title character, the VelociPastor.
The VelociPastor.
So anyway, he travels back to America and he's soon acquainted with a prostitute under the name of Carol, who's intimidated by some Johnny Depp-looking pimp.
I read the IMDb page for this film, and apparently that character is simply referred to as Frankie Mermaid.
Right.
I don't know how I didn't pick up on that in the film.
I don't really think it's obvious, but it seems to be a weird name that they've just gotten away with there. But anyway, that character's not really significant at all. He just seems to be a sort of minor character.
Definitely a minor character, and so with Carol the prostitute kind of introduced now as almost sort of a love interest. On a walk through the forest, it looks as though she's about to actually get attacked by some kind of sexual predator, which is really strange. And then Doug, with his raptorness, kind of steps in as a vigilante and literally rips and devours this man.
Yeah, that scene's really strange, because at that point it's not even clear that it's Doug. Like, it's not even clear that he can turn into a raptor at this point.
No, it just... I mean, what made me laugh more than anything was like the little raptor roar that he does.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. What got me is where he was sort of running down the street at lightning pace, right before the transformation scene.
Yes, when he's sort of dealing with the sickness.
Yeah.
It is kind of embarrassing to see him sort of fumbling around looking like that.
And then on the walk back home, he kind of looks like Fred, dressed as Velma, like Fred from Scooby-Doo, if he sort of was wearing Velma's dress. And that's when he sort of begins his relationship with Carol, I guess, which is very unchristian, because obviously Christians wouldn't agree to prostitution.
And then with him obviously being some sort of preacher, obviously he's got rules to stick by. You know, he can't exactly have intimacy, put it that way.
Yeah, and I would imagine
this oath of celibacy.
I guess he's already broken some of the Christian rules by being a raptor.
Exactly. Well, that's one of my favourite moments later on in the film, where he's sort of caught reading dinosaur facts.
Yeah, I mean, he's already a fucking raptor going around killing people, so I guess sex is at the bottom of his sort of sins list.
I guess so. Anyhow, so obviously with this, the main kind of plot, which is very neatly put together with this very bizarre kind of compilation segment where we see Doug as now a vigilante raptor.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most epic compilation scenes in any movie. The really strange heavy metal music plainly over it that just does not fit at all.
It really is quite strange. I mean, I kind of like that for whatever reason. I think we've all wanted to see a crime-fighting raptor.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's just kind of out of place with everything that's happening on screen. But yeah, I guess it's...
I mean, for a raptor that's also a priest to be killing people for a prostitute, now we're talking out of place.
Yeah, good point.
Speaking of things that are really out of place, the John Carpenter-looking character, Father Stewart, he has quite the haunting past, and I would arguably say this is by far the best scene in the entire movie.
I would second that. I would agree. It is by far my favorite.
We watched this movie with a couple of friends, and this was seriously where we almost had to stop the movie just so then we could catch our breath from the laughter.
It's definitely one of those scenes that's a laugh out loud moment if you're watching with a group of friends.
Definitely. I mean, watching this movie as a whole definitely helped with watching it with several friends, but basically what we learn about Father Stewart is that he has a Vietnam past. He was actually a Vietnam soldier. This featured the funniest death scene where, for some strange reason, his wife just appears in the middle of the forest, just shouting his name.
James!
Adeline? Adeline! Adeline!
James!
Yeah, that scene is by far the most hilarious scene. One of the most hilarious scenes in movie history, I think.
And as she runs to him to kind of hold and embrace him, she literally stands on a landmine that's like a centimetre in front of Father Stewart's feet.
James!
We use the word landmine very loosely because you can't see anything on screen that's there to suggest it's a landmine.
There's literally no hint.
And plus, Father Stewart is completely unaffected by said landmine.
Other than obviously being doused in red paint.
I just don't understand how...
I actually looked up the behind the scenes of this too.
Oh, really?
Go on, what were you saying?
I was just going to say that nothing was affected other than his wife.
I know, and then and then the soldiers that are standing behind Father Stewart, who is clearly traumatized, just say that there's nothing left of her. Well, no shit, there's nothing left of her.
I don't think we can do anything for her now. She's too far gone.
What I found funny as well is where he's just stood there in shock, and his sort of two pals just slowly come into the shot as well. And it's just such a strange, awkward moment.
It is filmed in a very humorous way.
It sort of reminds me of some kind of ABBA music video.
It's so bizarre, but I guess the end scene is really where the strangeness evolves even more throughout the film.
Yeah, there's some kind of fight scene that take place. A little bit of a scuffle, should we say. And that's really where you get to see Doug in all of his dinosaur glory. And he honestly does just look like one of those costumes that you can purchase from Amazon.
And he just fights a load of ninjas, which strangely is something we managed not to even talk about throughout this video.
Yeah, so they're just sort of like not really that relevant, but they're there throughout the story, I guess, just to make you aware that it has some kind of subplot.
I know it is. It seems to be like they seem to be the main antagonists, and they seem to be responsible for shooting that Chinese woman with the arrow from earlier in the film, and then obviously that instigates the raptor tooth incident.
I guess any antagonist is just going to be upstaged by a bloody velociraptor as the title character, though.
Definitely, and then obviously with this epic kill scene where we see Doug as the Amazon-purchased raptor costume. In fact, would you even say that's a raptor costume? I'd say that was a T-Rex.
I'd say it was a T-Rex. So that's piss poor effort from the production company.
But obviously sticking with the theme of this kind of low-budget B-movie, the T-Rex costume annihilates all of the ninjas, but I think the best bit is where we have Doug with dinosaur hands, who literally decapitates like the head ninja and just pulls his head off.
Yeah, that's a really great scene as well.
Great for how, I was going to say excellent the graphics are, but you can clearly see the head that's obviously made of like papier-mâché just shrink. It's that terrible.
Another really weak aspect is what they mention in the story towards the end is one of the main ninjas is Doug's brother.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. There's some really weird flashback moments where we see the family all sat in the car or something. They're all cheering Doug on. And then this brother character just sort of appears from the back seat randomly.
It's very, very strange, but I guess it doesn't really matter in the context of a fucking velociraptor killing everyone. Like, it's just such a minute point in the story.
It's so strange.
Really care.
Yeah, another part I didn't care about, and this is kind of the moment we should really end on, I suppose, is where they fake us out to think that Carol the prostitute has been killed during this epic fight, and then she just survives randomly at the end. Yeah,
so she's now has the powers of immortal life, I guess.
She might as well be invincible, and I don't know if maybe they're setting something up there for the sequel, but I guess that would be good kind of sequel bait.
Well, I'd use the term good in very...
Yes, of course I am being very sarcastic when I say that.
I guess on reflection, though, it is a fun watch. I just definitely wouldn't have been able to have got through it on my own. It's definitely one of those films that you'd want to be with other people. Unless you're heavily intoxicated, I wouldn't really recommend watching it on your own.
It really did help watching this with a group of friends. I think this is the kind of film that you could watch like maybe in a party atmosphere because it's something you don't need to take seriously.
But yeah, overall, it was a pretty fun film. 2 depressed preachers out of 5.
And there's a sequel in the works. So that is something to definitely look forward to. And we'll likely feature that in an upcoming review, maybe one day. Who knows?
I guess that does it for this first installment.
Tune in next time where we shall be covering Jaws in Japan, aka Psycho Shark.
Wow, you don't want to miss that one.
Definitely. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like down below. Comment below, have you seen the VelociPastor? Has this video convinced you to go and check out the movie in its fullest? From both myself and the Cryptic Cinema, it is goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you in the next one.
Are you threatening me?